Hello learners of class 10, welcome to the wonderful world of English language classroom. Learners, we are doing the second part of the lesson, The Making of the Scientist, from your supplement reader, The Footprints Without Feet. Lesson 6, The Making of the Scientist. Learners, with me is of course you and Kriti. Kriti, thank you very much for your very good narration of the story in the first part. So, for the benefit of learners and we ourselves, let us recall the childhood of Ebright, Richard Ebright. So,
Sure,
you said the last point you said was he was trying to develop cells from the wings of butterflies, and particularly he found that the yellow part is feeding to the growth of cells. This is a big breakthrough which he did.
Yes, sir.
When did he do it?
When he was in high school.
That was a great thing. So, let us recall the childhood life of Richard Ebright again for learners. So, then we will move on to narrate the story further and do some activities. Come on, go ahead.
Sure, sir. So, Richard Ebright was a child who was continuously very enthusiastic about science from the very beginning when he was in school. And his mother found that interest in him, and she always nurtured her in that sense. Like she always gave him tools, equipments, books to learn, so that the process is keep on going. It doesn't stop.
Great. He was interested in butterflies. So, she made arrangement for in his basement and the garden to grow butterflies and tag it for scientist Dr. Hubert. Then later she gave him a book which changed his life.
Yes, sir.
What was the book?
So, the Monarchs of
the Travels of
Monarchs the 10th.
Yes, that is he was talking. The book was about it's children's literature.
Yes.
It's for children to read, but towards the end there was some activity. That's if you are interested, do this. That came from the scientist. Then he thought that butterflies do migrate. That was a great thing. So, one book that changed the world. Now, a world of a child into a scientist. Come on, let us continue to understand the story. Come on, what did he do with his experiment? Then come on, tell us how he moved about later. Come on.
So, he at the very beginning he started to capture the butterflies and he started tagging them to see how they migrate. And after that he also participated in many science experiments, and we can say that it was the real life which hit him, that when he lost the.
Then what was his realization in science fair?
His realization was that he has to do something physical instead of putting neatly things down.
And real science.
Real science.
So, he says
yes,
that
sir.
something called real science. So, what is real science, learners? How scientists do? We have seen that bulb, with tungsten leaves, that is what Thomas Alva Edison found. Then later tube light came with sodium vapor, we call it, some vapor, I do not know, mercury vapor,
yes,
I do not know, I am not a science student, I am a literature student. Then later now we had IED, LED, so many things. The things have, this is real science, people keep on working. That the same way ISRO has launched almost hundreds of satellites, every time they improve it, that is the real science. And we know that how food items are preserved, and how science, in those days we had paddy and wheat varieties more than 140 days. Now we have wheat and rice varieties 80 days, 90 days maximum. So, farmers are able to cultivate within 3 months and we get the food. So, this is real science. So, you realized it. Come on, okay, learners and Kriti. So, what we have understood and we need to understand from the life of this child who later became a scientist is encouragement, scientific thinking, curiosity. Come on, let us now continue to listen to Kriti to know the story of the young scientist, how he became a serious scientist. Come on, point 30th you should be reading to our learners. Come on.
Sure, sir. His experiment during his high school second year, Richard Ebright continued his experiment with wings of monarch. He grew cells from monarch's wings and showed that the cells would divide and develop into normal butterfly wings, only if they were fed the hormone from the gold spots.
Okay. What did it fetch for him?
This project won first place for zoology at the international fair. He spent the summer after graduation doing further work at the Army laboratory and at the laboratory of the US Department of Agriculture.
So, having seen his work, so now at the for the graduation, they allowed him to work in the US Agriculture Laboratory. Then also Army Laboratory. Look at it, how supports come for a young scientist who is yet to become a scientist from Army laboratories, agriculture laboratories. So, that the country was looking forward to a young scientist to nurture and budding scientist. Come on, go ahead.
During his first year of graduation at Harvard University, Ebright continued his work in laboratory and was able to identify the hormone's chemical structure.
So, that is a big thing. So, he was able to find from the insects and butterflies also the hormone structure. Imagine learners at that time this particular research, what's it, structuring the hormones, understanding the hormones was a big thing. Then later, of course, in 90s, 2000, I think 2000, after 2010, Nobel Prize was given to DNA mapping. They took 10-20 years to map the DNA of humans.
Oh, okay,
so, that has been how our cells DNA, the inner part of, I do not know what DNA actually means I understand, I am unable to explain like a biologist or biology teacher. So, they mapped it. So, he started it 30 years ago, 30-40 years ago. So, that was a breakthrough. Then what did he do?
He got idea for his new theory about cell life. It came while he was looking at X-ray photos of the chemical structure of a hormone.
Okay, it's not easy. Through microscope, you look at things. Then there are very sophisticated microscopes. From X-ray, he found something. Then he didn't stop with that. Look at what he did.
It was a breakthrough. He found answers for one of biology's puzzles: how the cell can read the blueprint of DNA.
That's a great thing. No, cells have to react to the DNA, and then DNA brings your hereditary. Now recently I read, I do not know how far it is scientifically true, whatever DNA I get which comes from 20 generations back. So, I may inherit a particular trait from one of those people, either from my father's side or mother's side, and that side means grandfather, grandmother likewise, and from 20 generations I inherit something, some character or other. So, look at the human mystery and it's a kind of puzzle. That is what biology is puzzle, they are saying. Come on, read it again, that one particular one.
It was a breakthrough. He found answers for one of biology's puzzles: how the cell can read the blueprint of DNA.
Okay, how cells react, reading and reacting to the DNA. Yeah.
DNA is the substance in the nucleus of a cell that controls heredity. It determines the form and function of the cell.
So, that is what from people hereditarily. So, that cell decides, reads and reacts. So, it is a big thing for a first year graduate student to do a research on that. Come on.
Thus, DNA is the blueprint for life.
So, learners, DNA tells you how you behave, what you eat, what disease you might get, everything. So, that is why recent research which brought Nobel Prize is mapping the DNA. Come on.
Ebright and his college roommate James R. Wong worked all that night drawing pictures and constructing plastic models of molecules to show how it could happen.
Look at the thing, that is what in chemistry we make physical models of the molecules.
Yes, sir.
So, they tried to
Recreate.
saw something on the X-ray, then they try to make it physically in order to demonstrate how it happens. So, painting and artists are also required for science. That's the thing. Okay, come on.
They later wrote a paper that explained the theory. These findings got them fame and name. Ebright graduated from Harvard with highest honors. He went on to become graduate student researcher at Harvard Medical School. There he continued his experiments to test his theory.
So, that was studying in Harvard itself is not easy. Then that too a graduate researcher, means soon after graduation he was admitted into doing research that would later get him a doctorate degree, that is generally done after a master's all over the world. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir. He was the pioneer in cell research and DNA.
That is also microbiology, known as microbiology. Yeah.
It was all his curiosity of his school time and reading of the book. His high school research led to his theory about cell life. Collecting butterflies, which was encouraged by his mother, and his deep interest in it made him to do new things in life.
That's one. First of all, you show your interest and your commitment to something, then people, adults, for a child to support it. There are many factors involved. That's important, that how parents have to encourage children rather than imposing what we want them to do.
Definitely, sir.
Yeah.
Richard Ebright had always been a bright student who took part in other activities like debating. His social science teacher was the one he admired. He said, "Mr. Viharer was the perfect person for me then. He opened my mind to new ideas." Mr. Viharer praised Ebright as, "What pleased me was, here was this person who put in 3 or 4 hours at night doing debate research besides doing all his research with butterflies."
That's right. No, two things. It was not that he was only bookworm doing science experiments, but he was participating in debating and other sports activities, and which his social science teacher, he never says science teacher, social science teacher who was in charge of debating society, model United Nations society, who encouraged him to take part in all those, and almost all the activities he stood first. An extraordinary student in other fields also, not simply in science. So, learners, it is not that you pick up one field and excel it, but you should not lose your childhood. Play, read, go to library, be with friends, enjoy your time. With that, do your reading and writing and your school work also. That was the message or experience, what is it, Richard Ebright's life and childhood is telling us. Okay. Then what happens? He won a lot of laurels, lot of prizes in the field of science, and I think he was born in 1959 or something. He is fine, he is alive.
Yeah, yes, he is 61 years old
He
now.
is 61 years old and he is doing very well in the field. He is known as the well known renowned microbiologist.
Yes.
He has guided many students to do his research, doctoral studies, and also a lot of research relating to DNA cell he continues to do. Look at the life commitment which started as a hobby. So, learners, a hobby may lead you to something great. We have seen that many of the people, politicians, APJ Abdul Kalam, many such people, even Gandhi, who was a trained lawyer, who became the father of the nation because of his commitment to social political happenings in the country. Okay. That is the end of the story of childhood story of Ebright. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Learners, you can Google, read about him. We will show one image of him. There are lots of images. If you go to Wikipedia, a lot of things are there. Now, Kriti and the learners, let me ask you some questions.
Sure, sir.
What makes a scientist, or an economist, or a philosopher, or a cricketer, anything? Does the school have something to do, or the person has to do something? Be frank, you can be against school also.
No, sure, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I guess this is a collective effort. So, because the student in school has to come up with the passion, which is not easy to bring it out. The teacher has to support him to identify what is the effort he is putting more into, either painting or singing, or he is into science, or he is into sports. Similarly, after school there is equal effort of the parents as well. because at home they also have to identify their child into which activity he is putting his efforts into.
Fine, great, good, well said, well said. Then look at the commitment of the child. We
Yes,
can't
sir.
expect every child to have such commitment. One is the basic needs. Parents are not that comfortable in giving children everything. That's one. The other one is children are in a way directionless also in school. There is some sort of guidance required.
Yes,
Am I
definitely,
right?
sir.
Learners, read the story again, try to make out what this child was up to. Then there are many such stories to learn about. Here is a book by National Book Trust, When They Were Children, by Tangamani. This book consists of a lot of great people from India, their childhood lives. For example, let me show some of them. Boy with the golden boots, Boychuk Bhutia, that means sports person. Then we have Singing Her Way into Our Hearts by this is a childhood story of Lata Mangeshkar. Then Little Girl Who Packed a Punch, that is Mary Kom, the boxer. Then The Joy of Sharing, N.R. Narayanamurthy, we know that Infosys chairperson. Then Nurturing Nature, that is R.K. Pachuri, who founded that NEERI, National Institute of what's it, Environmental Engineering, and he got Nobel Prize for environment. And Call of the Mountains, Santosh Yadav, Call of the Mountains, Santosh Yadav, who climbed scale Mount Everest.
Yes, sir.
Then Princess of Bandavani, it's a childhood life of Tejan boy. So, there are many things learners, you may read this story, that is very important in life to read the autobiographies, and these are all simple narrations of their childhood. And the other book I would like to introduce you to you is The World of Insects by Herney Fabre by Vignan Prasar. Vignan Prasar is also Government of India publication, and they bring out a lot of books on science, how things work. Then there are books for small children, why I am looking like my father or mother, then why I speak like my father. I mean the genetic thing they talk about, why I am different from others. So, this is talking about insects, how they move, and it is a painstaking research. So, there are lots of things, and also in our Footprints Without Fate, there are one more story, autobiographical story. Now, learners, what will I do? I have read this lesson. We know very well from examination point of view also, Kriti.
Yes, sir.
We do not have short answer questions. We have one paragraph question to understand and interpret the story. So, we need to really read for extrapolative questions. Supposing I am going to ask you for the benefit of learners and
Yes, sir.
we ourselves, what are the main characteristics of the life of this boy, Ebright?
Sir, I guess the main characteristics of the life of Ebright was when he found out what he is passionate about, that is insects and butterflies, and the times when his mother was always helping him, supporting him, the time when he found out that he is nothing in actual physical world of science, when he lost the science fair, and when he actually won it, when he identified how the beetles are affecting the growth of the monarch butterflies, but he was wrong in his finding as well. So, he found out many things as well, how the golden spot helps the DNA of the butterfly.
These are all, fine, these are all the actions he did. One thing he was continuously doing, I was expecting you to tell us, that means he was reflecting
Yes, sir.
of his activities, whether they were right or wrong.
Yes, sir.
This is
Yes.
called reflection. The reflection is, the whole day I spent in school or playing, and then when you go to bed or sometime in between, oh, I did this, what was the meaning of it, and did I do wrong, even with our behaviors, was I rude with someone, this is called reflection. So, reflection is very important in science, social science to lead a life. Suppose by mistake you said something to someone, then later, oh, did I say it right? This is called reflection. In science, reflection is very important, and when a writer writes, there also it is important. So, he writes the story, rereads some lines of poetry, 5 lines, then he reads back to reflect, to have I conveyed it correctly. So, reflection, this we otherwise people call it meta thinking, and meta thinking is what we think, meta thinking is coming out of oneself and think. Oh, suppose sometimes we see, no, we have dressed up very well. So, then look at the camera, so look at the mirror, sorry, look at the mirror and say, oh, have I dressed up well? This is a kind of reflection. Now, the mirror reflection will tell you. So, reflect on it, learners, and the same way in the story also reflect on it, draw the character sketch of this young boy describing his childhood. This is one writing activity we are going to give you. Kriti will draw a kind of concept map for you.
Okay,
you
sir.
draw Ebright's childhood, then you draw it. Come on, let us do it. That is one activity we would like to do. The second one, learners, is read any such autobiography, childhood biography, maybe it may be Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel, anybody you want, then try to understand. There is a book on Sardar Patel, Indomitable Patel. So, let me narrate one example from Patel's life, because we may have known many other examples from others' life. So, Patel was arguing in the court, then a message was given to him. He read it and put it in his pocket and continued to argue. Then when the judgment was delivered, his party was released, people were released. Then the judge called him later. So, there was a message for you, it appeared to be very serious and urgent, the person who brought it was very serious. Then what was it? He showed it, someone very near to him passed away. Then he said, oh, you should have left it and gone, we should have adjust. No sir, had I left there, this one life gone is gone, out of sickness something, but the other lives would have been at stakes, that is why I wanted to. So, this is a commitment, that book is Indomitable Patel. So, there are many such biographies, learners. Nelson Mandela, in class 10 you have read Long Walk to Freedom. Look at the struggle, 28 years in jail.
Yes, sir.
So, autobiographies have a lot to say, tell us. So, books can change the world, read, 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 that is in a way the message of this lesson. The child read, and do not think that any reading is trivial. Learners, we know how autobiographies, reading makes changed people, and we talked about reflection. Reading nurtures thinking and reflection. Fine. Learners, there are 2 or 3 kind of questions which might occur, which might be asked based on this story. One is description of his childhood, that is one. The other one is describing your childhood. So, let us take up the characteristics of his childhood, or that means Richard, characteristics of Richard's Ebright's childhood. So, learners, we will first discuss, brainstorm ourselves. What will you write, Kiriti?
Sir, if I am talking about Richard Ebright's characteristics, I would tell him that he was a very hardworking person.
Fine.
Because he was continuously working on the projects given to him. Then he was also dedicated.
Fine.
He was
and dedicated at childhood.
Yes, sir.
Generally, we are playful, not minding things, unwilling to do homework.
Yes,
but
sir.
he did that. Yeah. Then.
So, being a bookworm, if we can say so, he was also a brilliant canoeist. He was into extra co-curricular activities.
Debating and
he
all.
He was into debating as well. We also get to know that he always had his mother's support.
Support, always. He
Yes,
was
sir.
like a friend and companion.
Yes, sir.
That is very important, parents, if you are watching, and learners, you also share with your parents your ideas as well as friends, and tell them that I want to do this, so that they can encourage you. Kriti has narrated very well and we did lot of discussions. Then important thing is to read, learn to reflect and indulge in activities, do activities which you are interested, convince your parents and school to take up the activity as life career. We call it vocation, VOCHAO, means that is the lifetime the job you like the most. Okay, now, two things we will do, two work. One is the characteristics we discussed, the childhood of Richard E. Bright, which she will demonstrate through mind mapping and how first draft, second draft can be written and to get into a good write up. This is first activity. Second one you will be doing on your own is following the same model, write about your childhood, the characteristics, the things you did, things you did not like, people you loved or hated, the trees around you, your backyard or friend yard, that is portico, whatever you want, you write about the incidents which took place in school as well as at home. This is, please do these two things as a kind of homework or school work, whatever work. Then learners, that is what this part 2 of this lesson, the making of the scientist. I do believe and hope that there are many scientists, historians, novelists, engineers, politicians are sitting there watching this and to become one day what you want to be. We will stop it there. Thank you very much. Let us thank Kriti for her active participation. We do believe that you also participated. Please read the story twice and do the activities. And one another book I would like to refer to you is Discovered Questions or Random Questions by Professor Yashpal. These are the questions which I mentioned in the beginning. Children asked him those questions, it has answers. One interesting question one child asked Professor Yashpal is after a long summer, hot summer, it rains, and when it rains some smell comes from the soil. So, the child could not understand. Professor Yashpal answered saying that I could not find out, I am a physicist. And then I asked some 3-4 biologists, zoologists, then all of them came with different answers. One answer was most striking, that was some bacteria which was bacteria is hiding in the sand, when it rains it comes out, that is the smell. So, those kinds of questions that it was called Discovered Questions, published by NCERT, and National Book Trust has published it as random questions. So, and another book I would like to refer to you is a Hindu newspaper has brought out Hindu speaks on scientific facts. These were the questions asked by people. They have every Wednesday some scientific questions, science questions, base questions which were answered by scientists. So, that is very interesting. One of the question is crabs can walk sideways. It can go also forward and backward, yes. But it is difficult for other insects and this one, and it can walk backwards. So, it said it is a great technology which they apply. So, there are many such things, learners, read those things so that you get some inspiration to move on to. So, we stop it there. Thank you very much for patiently watching and participating. Let me thank you Kriti for your participation.
Thank you so much sir for having me here.
Thank you. We will meet you in the next lesson next time. Till then, take care.